Welcome to Dear Sandy. I'm Sandy Galef, a member of the New York State Assembly, representing parts of northern Westchester and parts of Putnam County. And today we're going to be talking about 100th birthday. And it's the 100th birthday of the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce. And not too many organizations can say they've been around for 100 years. So this is really exciting. And I have Deb Milone, who's the Executive Director of the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce, with me.
Hi.
Welcome, Deb.
Thank you for having me. I look pretty good for 100, don't I?
Well, I don't think you've been around all the 100, but there were a lot of people. Actually, there was you have events that you've had some, and you're working on others. But I went to your 100th celebration dinner, and met a lot of the people that had actually preceded you as being involved with the chamber, not the 100 years ago, but before that. So, so how did how did this all get started?
I looked at. I've been the executive director there since 2010, and I realized, I said, well, in 2015 we're going to be celebrating 100 years. So about a year ago, I started putting a committee together. We had two committees, one for the gala itself and one for the history of the chamber. And we put together this commemorative journal to do some research and start pulling all this information together. And that's how it started. It's just that I wanted to do something special to honor the Chamber of Commerce and honor the businesses in the community over the last 100 years. And it was a great opportunity to show, we honored 20 businesses and organizations who've been in existence for 100 years or more. This is a chamber.
It was unbelievable at your dinner, your special dinner. You had kind of a line of people coming through.
I know.
And I'm thinking, how these businesses have been here for so long, and so many family members that have just picked up.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I don't know that happens too often in a community.
I think we're very unique, and there was a great sense of community. But you look at Danes Lumber. Now they've been around since 1847, and they are the same family's been operating this for 147 years. So it's they have been in existence on the waterfront for many, many years. Cole's Market. Cole's Market started as an ice cream parlor, but what's so cool about what's going on with it, they're still in the very same location that they were when they opened up their ice cream store, ice cream and sundries, things like that.
But they've just added on.
They just added on and kind of morphed into being a grocery and meat market and catering now. Arthur Weeks, Jewelers, F.A. Bruchetta. It's when I started digging into who was 100 years, I couldn't believe the list kept growing, and I said, oh my God, I got to make sure I have everybody, and I'm adding more and more people to the list. All of our volunteer fire departments have been here 100 years or more. Centennial Fire Department actually was started in the year of the Centennial of the United States. So that's how it got its name. And then you have the Masons, the Masons Lodge number 34. They were the 34th lodge. They were established in 1793.
Is that in the country? Must have been the 34th in the country?
It could have been in New York. I'm not quite sure. But they're number 34. They've been around since 1793. You have the hospital, which is now New York Presbyterian, Hudson Valley.
Probably doesn't even look anywhere.
Well, it was on Bay Street. On Bay Street, they had bought a property on Bay Street. They started as Helping Hands Hospital, and they kind of expanded from there. And I think they moved up to Crampon Road in the 70s. They broke ground in the 70s. But to me, it was just a fantastic journey through time to see. I go down the streets now looking at the landscape much differently, and I say, where Curry Auto Mall is, they had the Buy Right Barn. And a lot of people who grew up here remember Buy Right Barn. And that was there. You have, like in downtown Peekskill, the entire landscape has changed. But I look at it, I say, oh, wow, that's where Lidl's Bar and Grill was. That's where Whalen's was. And Division Street was a two-way street. So they had a lot of parades on Division Street.
They're still doing parades.
Yes. They're still doing parades. And they're still, we have St. Patrick's Day. But we have a lot of things that we've seen change over the years. It's changed but hasn't changed. And I think what's been very interesting is that the community has recreated itself time and time again. And Frank Goodare, who is the Peekskill City historian, he helped us out tremendously, along with the Peekskill Museum.
Right, this is the book you produced.
Yes.
And you know, with 100 years, and all that, you had a lot of, it's probably hard to see on this, but a lot of the old photographs from different places. Was that mostly from the Historical Society? Did they
I
have
got the pictures from Frank Goodare. I got the pictures from the Croton Historical Society, the Putnam Valley Historical Society, the Cortland Historical Society, the Peekskill Museum, the Field Library, which is a fantastic, they have a fantastic reference room and unbelievable archives. And we started identifying, saying, okay, what were the businesses? What do we need to make sure we have in here to be representative of the community? And we had business owners, Jack Levitz and his wife Barbara, Barbara Gibbs, the family-owned Gibbs stores, and they were very involved in the Chamber of Commerce. Harry Gibbs was the director, a $1 a year director for many years. But they helped us reach out to families who had businesses here. And a lot of those families actually took ads, and we had businesses and people sponsor these photos.
Right.
So you had Katz's Liquor, which was here for many years. You had Skolsky's, which is was on Division Street, where the Postal Union is now. The Cortland Cotton Store, Bernard Judowitz, where Quiet Man is now. You have Gibbs; they were there. It's just Rosoffs, the Feldman family. They had 6 businesses in town. So we found all of this, and I now understand why the community is so connected to itself, and the people in the community are so connected.
They've known each other for years and years and years and years.
For years.
Right,
Yes.
right. So it isn't, and I was just so amazed at, as I said maybe a little earlier, the number of family members. I think it was Cole's. I mean, it just seemed like there are so many young people now involved, and
You got the kids coming up.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. They do.
They said to me, "What can I bring our kids?" And I said, "Of course, they're going to be the people who are going to be running the business after you guys." So absolutely.
Right. No, it was just such a great event. Now, what other kinds of things are happening in the 100th year?
Well, besides our 100th anniversary, the city of Peekskill is celebrating its 75th. And so we're working with them in, helping them sell their 75th merchandising, supporting them on their 75th events. But we, through our research of our 100th anniversary, we found that in the 1940s, 1945 actually, the Chamber of Commerce put together the Hudson Valley Exposition. It was a 4-day festival. It was at the old Peekskill Stadium on Welcher Avenue, and it was meant to stimulate the local economy after the war. And as people were coming back, and the soldiers were coming back, they wanted to promote and profile what the area had to offer. We're going to bring that back on August 1st.
Oh, very exciting.
Yes,
very exciting.
And it's like a mini World's Fair. So it's not a festival where you have, carnival rides and games and things. It's all going to be what this area has to offer. We have, we'll have our historical reenactments because we have George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were very, besides being very important figures in American history, had a lot to do with our local history.
Right.
Had
Well, you have
a great impact on our local history.
Well, you have the Lincoln Museum that's opened, and that's great.
So we have a whole kids area, which I call a no-tech zone. It's going to be all hands-on stuff with kids.
Oh, so they might have recall about what older people used?
Well, yeah, we're going to actually do lawn games, hopscotch and marbles and pick-up sticks and things like that. And, we have some robotic animals that kids can ride on. And we'll have a farmer's market. Thank you to the hospital bringing their farmer's market down. The Bertolini family will be sponsoring our food court which we have only local restaurants. So we want people, each of the municipalities will be having a tent to profile, why should somebody come and live here or move here or bring a business here?
When you talk about the municipalities now, you're talking about the municipalities that are involved with your chamber, the Gateway Chamber.
The Chamber of Commerce, is very quickly, started out in 1915 as the Peekskill Chamber of Commerce. It then became in the early 80s the Peekskill Cortland Chamber of Commerce. We then affiliated with the Putnam Valley Chamber, so we became the Peekskill Cortland Putnam Valley Chamber of Commerce. So when we merged with the Croton Chamber of Commerce, and it's important to note that these other chambers we've merged with were volunteer chambers, and we were the full-time staff chamber. We said, okay, we have to come up with a
better name.
Yeah.
Too many communities.
So at that time, Linda Puglisi had signs on Route 9 that says, welcome to the gateway of the Hudson Valley. We said,
okay,
perfect. Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce. And we serve Croton, Cortland, Peekskill, and Putnam Valley.
That's great. That's great. So when you were looking up this history, there was something about the United Nations.
Yes.
So what was that about?
We found out in the 40s, early 40s, that there was a movement here to purchase land and build the United Nations up in Cortland. I believe like Lexington, Lafayette, Lexington, 25 acres of land. And it was a serious movement. There were town hall meetings, there were petitions, money was raised.
Were the petitions in favor? Or both, maybe both ways.
It was both ways. Obviously, you know, whenever you're going to have a big development, you're going to have people who are like, I don't think I want it here. But then Mr. Rockefeller decided to donate the land on the east side of Manhattan, and that was over. It was over. It was over. That was over. But it was a very serious movement. Was well organized, and
when you think about that, if the United Nations had been here, how different this whole area would have been, right?
It would have been very different.
Would have been very different, right?
So
now, in your chamber, you have all size businesses. I mean, you have, I guess, Entergy must be the largest company, or
Entergy and the hospital.
Oh, the hospital also.
Yeah, because they both have over 1,000 employees each, and we have large corporations. We have BASF. We have Continental Buchanan, which is the gypsum plant down in Buchanan. And then we have a lot of small businesses. We have actually 468 businesses in our chamber right now. So
that is huge.
It's and most of the members are between 1 and 10 employees. So it's and I try to keep it kind of an intimate feel with the chamber, because I want everybody to network, know each other, rely on each other.
Well, I know one of the things when I go to your breakfast lunches or whatever, it's always starting out introducing everybody, and it's always so interesting to find out, what business people are with, and then afterwards, it seems like one always goes over to talk to somebody else after, because they've picked up, or maybe they phone them later on. And also, all of the you also have the volunteer groups that are here, and letting everybody know what's going on in the community.
I try to promote all aspects of the community. That includes the volunteer, the nonprofits. We have the Peekskill Community Foundation, which is really a foundation of a coalition of local nonprofits, Peekskill area, Peekskill agencies together, which is all nonprofits. I look at my job as I connect. And if the more I get to know who's out there, the more I can connect people in organizations to each other.
Right. So if they need, if a business needs, all right, so business A really needs printing done and they don't do it, then this is a wonderful way to do those connects.
Yes, and I will, I always refer members. And if there are multiple members in a certain, like a printing company, we have 3 people who actually can do mass printing. I'll refer all 3. It's really up to the person on the other end to say, let them decide who they're going to work with. But I refer all my members, and it's, when people do business with people they know.
Right.
And that's a point I keep trying to make when people come into the chamber. If you're going to join the Chamber of Commerce and think, you know, floods of new customers are going to come in, it's not going to happen. You know, you have to, what do you want to get out of it? What are your expectations? You want people to know you? Then you have to get to know people. And, you know, as an example, Mark Franzoso does a wonderful job of marketing his business. And his opinion is that people will need his service when there's an issue, whether a roof, doors, siding.
Right.
So when there's that issue comes up, he wants to be the first one they think of.
Right. So
Okay.
he wants the name. He wants them to keep that in their head that I need
branding,
this guy.
and that's branding. And my background is marketing, so it's like, you know, I try to really impress upon the members the importance of branding their company, marketing, and there's ways of doing it without spending lots of money. Grassroots, and that is getting involved in community organizations, maybe not even the chamber. Pick your organization and get involved with that, but just don't get involved to try to get business. Get involved because you want to be involved with it.
Right. I must say, you know, that I know probably, well, Peekskill and most communities have changed a lot because of the big malls and so on, and people may be going out of downtowns. But I must say, I really like knowing people individually. I feel like I get better service if you know, I know the individual. There's a relationship.
Yeah.
There's a relationship.
You feel at home. I know, I think I grew up in Yonkers. I moved to Peekskill 25 years ago. I feel this is more my home than Yonkers was, even though I spent the first 27 years of my life there, because I can go into these stores, the dry cleaner, and even before I was involved with the Chamber of Commerce, it's you get to know the proprietors.
Right.
They know you by name. It's just that Mayberry feeling, which people want.
We really want it, and we don't have it in a lot of ways, and
you get better service too.
Right.
You know, the service, I mean, if something goes wrong, you know, the local businessman will very quickly make good on it, where you're having to deal with a larger corporation. You eventually maybe be made good on it, but it takes a little work.
So over the history of Peekskill, how have the malls, what did you learn anything in the historic background?
Actually, yes. I was before, like Frank Radair told us that the big thing for Peekskill area, the region here, to move it away from an industrial. Peekskill was very industrial. We had
because of the water.
We had the water. Yeah, we had the train line, the water, the Hudson River. You had Fleischmann's and Standard Brands. You had a lot of industry in this area. Right. When they built the Ansville Circle Bridge and they finished the Bear Mountain Bridge, it really kind of opened up this area to establish more retail. Right?
Oh, because you could go north, go east-west.
Peekskill then became the retail center of northern Westchester County, similar to you know, Yonkers with Getty Square. You know, you had, you know, you went one place for your clothes, another place for your pharmacy, another, you know, so you had the local merchants all serving a specific need. That was kind of changing probably in the 70s and 80s. It was morphing again, and then in the 90s, the government in Peekskill was very active in bringing the artist community to Peekskill.
Right.
That began the movement of creating more of an arts community, where you now we have 10 restaurants within a 3-block radius. Okay.
They keep popping up all the time.
And they're all different, and I can tell you, they're all delicious. And
we get to try them all out, right?
Oh,
yes.
I work downtown, so I of course I try them all out. No, but they are all great. But that's where we're going now. You're seeing the arts, you're seeing more food, you're seeing entertainment. So again, it's the constant transitions. You kind of, you know, the community stays alive by constantly reinventing itself, and who knows where we're going to be 100 years from now.
So the Paramount Center, or Paramount Theater, or you know, all of the names it's had over time. And I don't really remember how old it is, but it's been here for a long time.
1930 it opened.
1930. So, so the question is how, you know, what happened with that over time? Because there have been times where it's been very hard for them to exist, and yet they were so important, I thought, to the economic development or the, you know, the infrastructure of Peekskill.
They're critical to this region's economy. They bring the Paramount brings a lot of people in, not just to Peekskill downtown restaurants, but from all over. I mean, I have friends of mine who live in Nyack who are coming over to the Paramount next week to see a show. All right. I know it went through, it was a movie theater. It opened up in a movie theater.
In the 30s.
And, yes, and I think it existed as a movie theater through the 60s. It started having, you know, going into decay in the 70s. And there was a group, there was a Pride in Peekskill organization that was formed. I know Fran Gibbs was involved with that, and Ginny Ansovino and Phyllis Nitkin. They had a Pride in Peekskill campaign, and the group, they formed a organization or a nonprofit to bring the Paramount back, and they reopened it up at the Paramount Center for the Arts, and they were a nonprofit. And they did put on shows of all different types, but they also did a lot of programming for children, for families. It was the only place you really can go in and see a symphony orchestra or, you know, a Taconic opera, right? So they had, because of their nonprofit status, they provided a lot of classical entertainment and children's entertainment as well. As you know, they succeeded for many years with that model, but when the economy started really tightening up and money and funding got less and less,
and people not doing as much extra,
and you know, they were relying on grants, a lot of grant money, and some of that was being dried up, so they started running into problems, and eventually saw that they were not able to continue as a nonprofit, and they had to close the doors because they just did not have the revenues to generate and bring in more acts. Then the group who's running this now, the Red House Entertainment, they are a for-profit group. They also are getting a nonprofit and to do some of the stuff that the old Paramount Center did. You see what they're doing. They're bringing back the movies. They have movies on weekends. They do a lot of comedy, which is fun. And they have, I forget, Craig, I forget his name. I'm going to be killed for that, but he's coming over. He'll be here next week. And they have a lot of the bands. You have Rick Springfield. They have a lot of tribute bands. So it's you know, this is only their second year of operation. And
it's still very an important part
of Peekskill. It is a very important part of Peekskill. And again, a very important part of the region. So it's, you know, the Chamber supports its operation. We want to do everything we can to help it succeed. And they're good people who run this, and they're putting a lot of time and effort and their own money into this. So go see a show.
Go see, yes, absolutely. So how is, I mean, businesses had to change over time. Well, you know, talking about the mechanical things that we have and we don't have as we went along in this 100 years, started with telephones and then we increased to computers. And now, I mean, we have this internet, and I keep thinking, what is that relationship to our business community? Good, bad, and different. I mean, what do you think?
The seminars that are, we have seminars monthly in the office for lunch. We have lunchtime seminars, and the ones that are most highly attended are the ones that are having to deal with internet, social media. The businesses want to understand it, and to us, it's not second nature. I had a 5-year-old show me how to put the emotions on.
It's second nature.
I mean, it's like a 5-year-old showing me how to do this. I mean, how do I put this stuff on? And but, you know, I see them wanting to learn and wanting to use this new technology to promote their businesses. You know, it doesn't always mean Facebook is important. It's really where your audience, who's your customer base? What are they using?
Right.
Okay,
that's true. And if you have a lot of young people in your customer base, a restaurant, whatever, then
the restaurants have to be very competitive on social media, and social media is constantly changing. You know, right now it's the younger people are not using Facebook as much. We're just getting into it, and they're not using it as much anymore. And you know, but these are the things. Facebook, Twitter, Yodel, you have all of these different social media, you know, opportunities. And what we try to do is say, okay, let's explain them and let's not get overwhelmed by them, and let's show you which ones may be the best for you. One of the most important things a business can do in this new age, and a lot of businesses, believe it or not, still do not have, is a website.
Oh, and a lot of businesses still don't have a website.
Do not have a website.
Because I think that's a natural to kind of go up and to try to find somebody just, you know, generically.
Consumers have gotten to the point where they can be anonymous now. And they want to do their research without having people make phone calls to say, oh, you know, you wanted information from me. They want to be able to look. And I think no matter what your business is, you should have some type of web presence. And it doesn't have to be a multi-page website. It could be a single-page website or a landing page, as they call it. So we try to educate. It's tough, though. I mean, I try to keep up with it.
They're all different.
And it's like I see what the next thing is going to be. I'm like,
so
I just learned this.
So what's going to happen in the next, well, not 100 years because we don't know, but maybe any predictions about 10 years from now? Where is the chamber going to be?
Well, I hope we're still vibrant. Okay, that's number one. I hope the business community still sees the need to have a unified business community, a unified business voice. So that's a hope that I have for the Chamber of Commerce. I see our community continuing to morph into more entertainment. I see it become more of an urban area now. You're getting more people, believe it or not, a lot of younger people are moving up here. They like the fact that they have a downtown environment, but they still can go a couple miles away and go hiking and have the feel of the country. We're 50 minutes from Manhattan.
Right.
Our rents and our price per square foot a lot cheaper than Brooklyn and Manhattan, so we're becoming very attractive to businesses and arts businesses and industrial art businesses who don't want to pay the rents in Brooklyn and Manhattan, and feel they can come up here.
Right.
So I think we're going to be going in that direction.
A lot of good things coming up. Deb, I want to thank you so much for being here
Thank you.
To talk about the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber Commerce, the 100 years. It's a very exciting thing. If anybody, do you have any extras?
Yes, I was going to say, thank you. Make a pitch. If anybody would like to have a copy of this, we are selling them now in the office for $10 a piece. They are available at the Bruised Apple Bookstore and the Peekskill Museum.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all for watching, and if you have any questions about what we've been talking about, please give me a call at my office, 914-941-1111. Have a good evening. Thanks for watching.